I call to order the zoning meeting of the Knox County Commission for Monday, June 26, 2023. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Commissioner Lundy.
Here.
Commissioner Darrett.
Here.
Commissioner Oster. Commissioner Ward.
Here.
Commissioner Schoonmaker.
Here.
Commissioner Hill. Commissioner Lee. Commissioner Beegler. Commissioner Daly. Commissioner Jay. Commissioner Frazier.
Present.
10 members present.
We do have a quorum. Director Moyers, I will turn it over to you for those who are here to testify.
All right, anybody who's here to testify today before this body, if you wish to speak to this body today, please stand and raise your right hand. If you're here to speak either for or against any item on the agenda, please stand and raise your right hand. Be sure you do it now, because I'll just have to do it later if you don't do it now. All right. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Be seated, please.
Thank you, Director Moyers. Madam Clerk, please read the first item.
The first item is number 57. It's 5-A-23-RZ, request of Shelley Milbacher for rezoning from A agricultural to RA low-density residential, located at 2509 Norris Lane, parcel ID 051042, part of, and it's in the 8th Commission District.
Is the applicant present? If you would please approach the podium. And ma'am, did you just be sworn in? Were you just sworn in?
No.
Then,
All right, would you raise your right hand, please? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Yes.
thank you. Please state your name and address for the record.
Shelley Milbacher. I do not live at this address. I live in Waterford, Michigan.
Okay. You can go ahead and give me that address. That's fine.
4045 Island Park Drive in Waterford, Michigan, 48329.
Thank you. Is there any opposition to this item or anyone wishing to speak? Seeing none, I will turn it over to Amy Brooks for Planning Commission's recommendation.
Planning Commission recommends that County Commission approve the RA low-density residential zone for the portion of the parcel requested because it is consistent with the sector plan and surrounding development by a vote of 12-0 consent.
Thank you. Do you have anything to speak to regarding this property?
No, ma'am.
Okay. I will look to my fellow commissioners for any questions or comments. Commissioner Jay?
I don't have a comment. I was going to make a motion to approve.
Okay. Motion on the floor is to approve by Commissioner Jay for Planning Commission's recommendation, with a second by Commissioner Daly. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank
Good
you
luck.
so much.
Next item, please, Madam Clerk.
Item number 58 is 5-B-23-RZ, request of Karel Politnik Jr. and Olga Politnik for rezoning from A agricultural to RA low-density residential. Properties located at 7828 Griffith Road, parcel ID 028181 in the 7th Commission District.
Is the applicant present? Please state your name and address for the record.
Karel Plednick Jr., 7828 Griffith Road.
Thank you. Is there any opposition to this item or anyone wishing to speak? Seeing none, Ms. Brooks?
Planning Commission recommends that County Commission approve the RA low-density residential zone because it's consistent with the sector plan and surrounding development by a vote of 13-0.
Sir, would you like to speak to your project?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Would you like to speak to anything regarding what you're going to do on this property?
Pretty much want to just add one dwelling on the property so the families live together. That's pretty
Okay.
much it at this point.
Thank you. Commissioners, I will open the floor for any questions or discussion. Seeing none, I will look to the district commissioner. Oh, I'm sorry. Commissioner Schoonmaker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So on the map, it looks like there's a smaller barn or something on the rear of the property. Is that where you're going to put the second home?
That would be a shed that's there at this point. Yeah, it's like a 2-car garage shed.
Okay, but that's where you're going to put the home?
Correct.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. In the same driveway?
Well, our step after this will basically get the land surveyed, and then based on that information, we would decide where would be the best spot, you know, with KUB and everybody else kind of come together and figure it out. But at this point, that would be the spot, correct?
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Commissioner Lee, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm making a motion to approve the low-density residential zone because it's consistent with the sector plan and the surrounding development.
Second. Motion is to approve the Planning Commission's recommendation by Commissioner Lee with a second by Commissioner Oster. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. Good luck with your project.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Item number 59, 5-C-23-RZ, request of DC Foundations Incorporated for rezoning from A agricultural to OB office, medical, and related services. Properties located at 6789 Oak Ridge Highway, parcel ID 079049901 in the 6th Commission District.
Is the applicant present? If you would please approach the podium and state your name and address for the record.
Andrew Gaither on behalf of DC Foundations, 714 Chickamauga Avenue.
Thank you. Is there any opposition to this item or anyone wishing to speak? Okay, I will provide time in just a moment. Ms. Brooks, will you please read Planning Commission's recommendation?
Planning Commission recommends that County Commission approve the OB Office Medical and Related Services Zone since it is consistent with the sector plan's MUSD NWCO 10 Mixed Use Special District, Shad Road, Oak Ridge Highway Crossroads, land designation by a vote of 13-0.
Thank you. Mr. Gaither, would you like to speak to what you're going to do here?
My client intends to use the property as an office building for the operation of their business.
Okay, thank you. And sir, who's wishing to speak in opposition, will you please approach the podium? State your name and address for the record.
Alvin Austin.
Will you move the mic closer to you? Thank you.
Alvin Austin, Austin.
Okay, and your address, please.
My address is 6715 Ball Road.
Okay, and you may go ahead.
All right. He just said that he was wanting to use it for office medical use. Also, they have a garage there. They're going to be parking equipment there. Where does the office medical, that's kind of deceiving because can he use it for a shop to work on his equipment to make the noise? Later on, will he be able to put a batch plan in for his concrete business? Where does it stop at? And also, he's been filling in a flood zone. Where does that stop at? We were told last time that he was through with his filling in, but that was at the MPC meeting over a month ago, and he's still filling in. So, is office medical, is that all he's allowed to do, or is he allowed to work on equipment there?
All right. Thank you. Mr. Gaither, would you like to respond? Oh, sorry. Mr. Austin, were you finished?
Yeah, basically.
Okay. Mr. Gaither, would you like to respond to these questions?
Sure. So with the filling in, I think that they've been working with codes to raise the level of some of the property there so that they can properly build on it. And I think that explains the filling in of the property or the dumping of dirt down there. With regards to the garage being there, they do change oil of trucks there sometimes, but they don't park them there permanently. And they're not going to be adding a batch mixing yard there. They have a separate location where they mix their concrete and have a concrete yard where they take care of that. They wouldn't be using this property for any sort of a storage facility for their trucks or their concrete.
Would not?
They would not, sorry.
All right. I see a few lights on. Commissioner Schoonmaker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Snowden, would he be able to do moving the earth without, would he be required to have a grading permit on that property?
He would, as well as a floodplain development permit. I don't know if they have one or not. I can check first thing in the morning and see, but the floodplain does encumber that property quite a bit. So we would want to see a stormwater management plan stamped by a licensed engineer to a place any field within that area.
Okay, and then in the OB zone or can he service vehicles on that property?
No. OB zone is pretty much it. I was looking at the zoning ordinance here. It really talks about professional and business offices. So a lot of the activities that are ongoing in their current location, which is across the road, wouldn't be permitted here. It would be more of a professional office setting.
Okay, so if they move forward with this project and put an office building on there, they would have to relocate the garage or whatever they're doing for repairs right now on that site.
Is there a garage on the site because I want to make sure I'm looking at, they have a site that's on the north side of Oak Ridge Highway, and this location is on the south side. So are we, right. Which side are we talking about to make sure I'm clear, Commissioner?
That's what it's both sides.
There is a garage on the south side also? Okay.
So that would have to be removed if he got...
Not necessarily the garage, but we wouldn't want to see necessarily that kind of activity there. That would be outside the realm of what we would like to, or what we would prefer to see in OB.
Okay. So if this was to go forward, it could be pending whether they have a grading permit or not, since we don't know that information today.
We would want to look and see. I don't know if they have either a building permit. That would be the first thing we would want to see, if they submitted any kind of building permit or grading permit. Okay. I just don't know at this point. I'm sorry.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Daly.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Snowden? Well, first, Mr. Gaither, right?
Yes, sir.
Do you have a grading permit?
It's my understanding that they've had codes out there multiple times throughout the course of them working on this. So I have not worked on the code side of this. I've only been asked to do the rezoning. But I would assume that if codes has been out there to inspect the property while they've been doing this grading, that they would have required a grading permit to have been pulled for it.
What about the stormwater plan?
Once again, with the codes, I would assume that they would also have required that of them, but I don't have personal knowledge as to whether or not they have a stormwater plan.
Mr. Snowden, I would like to see any of codes that's been out there, what the information is that codes may have. And I wouldn't bother me to see this postponed or moved for 30 days until we get this information to make sure that, a lot of these developers, I got them in my neighborhood. They go in there and they start bulldozing, and you go out there and stop them. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know. Type deal, enough's enough. We need to really know to make sure that we do have a stormwater plan and also grading permits. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Jay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If it pleases the chair, could I ask her to put up a visual to make sure we're looking at the right property? Oh, gee, did you forward it to him? Sorry. Yeah. If you could actually just pull up the residence on a Google Drive. I think it's a good perspective to look at it on like a 3D Google map. I just sent a screen grab to Drew, but I just wanted, because I think it shows the garage and the site and how close to the stream and some of the fill. Drew, is that something you can send over or? I can't hear what you're saying. No, I know. I just sent you an email with it. Can we get it up? While that's coming up, Mr. Snowden and Ms. Brooks, how long would it take to understand if there was a grading plan and a stormwater?
I'm looking at our development site files. I do not see a grading permit for this site. So not to say there isn't one. Maybe somebody didn't enter it, but I don't see that we've issued a what we call a floodplain development permit for this site. But I'll verify that. But I can do that like first thing in the morning.
Okay. All right, we probably won't get the visual on there, but I'm just doing a quick, aerial, a satellite map of what it looks like right now, and obviously there is a ton of fill going in there. There's two houses that are two structures that are under construction. One does look like a building, but one looks like a fairly large commercial garage of sorts in the back, and obviously I'm not looking at the other property at all. So I would agree with Commissioner Daly. I don't want to hold up somebody's business, but unless we have a grading permit and a stormwater plan in place, I wouldn't mind to see this postponed for 30 days to make sure it's in the right spot. 59, yeah.
Is he going to pull it up?
I don't think we're going to get it. So.
Okay. Commissioner Ward?
Thank you. Can I just ask why you guys decided to do OB instead of a different zone?
We were told by codes and zoning that would be most consistent with the sector plan. We were also told that it was okay to service vehicles under an OB zoning as long as they weren't being stored there overnight and as long as they weren't visible from the road. I don't know if that's correct or not,
Yeah,
but that was what we were told.
It sounds like bad advice, honestly, if that's the case. I said it sounds like bad advice if that's the case. Because, yeah.
Thank you. Commissioner Hill?
Thank you. I'm thinking this is a situation where the owner may have got the cart before the horse, went in and started building, and then I don't doubt that probably they didn't get some visits from codes because I know that there was a lot of phone calls from people in the area. For those of you that haven't seen the property, there is the house in the front with a two-car garage, and then behind it is a huge commercial size garage. I mean, that thing must be 20 feet tall and 20 feet wide. I mean, it's definitely a commercial garage, and I didn't realize until just recently how much of that was floodplain, because there has been a ton of grading going on there. So I could absolutely support postponement in this till we get some more answers. Although in reality, the thing's about finished. Isn't that correct?
That is correct.
Well, be that as it may, I'd like to go ahead and make a motion that we postpone for 30 days. We've got a lot of answers that we need to get.
Second. Yes, a July meeting.
To July meeting, thank you, July zoning meeting.
Motion to defer to our July zoning meeting by Commissioner Hill with a second by Commissioner Frazier. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor to defer, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. We will see you again in July.
Thank you for your time.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, 60 and 61 were both deferred. So we're on item 62, which is 5-E-23-RZ, request of Ron Worley for rezoning from A agricultural to RA low density residential. The property is located at 0 Brownview Road, parcel ID 091-014 in the 6th Commission District.
Is the applicant present? Please approach the podium and give your name and address for the record.
Ron Worley, P.O. Box 71022.
Thank you. Is there any opposition to this item or anyone wishing to speak? Seeing none, Ms. Brooks, will you please give us Planning Commission's recommendation?
Planning Commission recommends that County Commission approve the RA low-density residential zone for the entire parcel as RA would require larger uniform lots by a vote of 12-0.
Thank you. Mr. Worley, would you like to speak to your project?
I'm satisfied with the MPC recommendation.
Thank you. Commissioners? Commissioner Schoonmaker?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't think I've ever been to a zoning meeting when you've had opposition.
Well, if you go back far enough, you would have. But after 32 years, yeah, I try to make peace along the way.
There you go. I noticed under the staff recommendation, up to 2 dwelling units per acre. So how is that actually going to play out on this parcel, part of the parcel?
I'll probably have to ask
is it going to be closer to 3 or?
I don't know that answer. My intent is to build single-family homes along the frontage on Brownview Road. Okay. And I think this parcel is 8.4 acres, and a lot of it's up on the hillside. And so the reason, just to try to answer your question, the reason we chose the RA is, number one, it was consistent with the adjoining property. And then number two, it actually allowed for larger, if I'm not mistaken, I want to say 10,000 square foot lots, which was a little bit larger because there was some discussion about maybe doing PR zoning.
Okay.
So I'm actually requesting something with less density. So I'm hoping to get 8 or 9 lots when it's all said and done. But
yeah, okay.
At this point, we're just going for the rezoning.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any other commissioner wishing to discuss this item before I turn it over to Commissioner Hill? Seeing none, Commissioner Hill.
Good evening, Mr. Worley.
Good evening.
I think you just answered my question. You were hoping to get, did you say 9 or maybe 10?
Yeah, usually I try not to go get the cart before the horse. Obviously we're just trying for the rezoning now. But if I just look at the frontage on Brownview Road and I look at, again, I think it's 75 feet. Yeah. My engineer had handled this up to this point, and I was hoping this would just go right through. So if it's 75 feet divided by the frontage, you could potentially get maybe 8 or 9 lots.
Okay, that's what I needed
eventually.
To know. I think that sounds about right too, because that's kind of a odd-shaped, funky piece.
Yeah, there's a lot of the hillside that's not connected to the frontage that's really too steep to do anything with.
Great. All right. That's the only question I had. I have no problem approving this for RA zoning for the entire parcel.
Second.
Motion to approve Planning Commission's recommendation by Commissioner Hill with a second by Commissioner Oster. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Good luck.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Item number 63, 4-H-23-SP is a request of CPR LLC for North County Sector Plan Amendment from LDR Low Density Residential to MDR Medium Density Residential located at 3534 Cunningham Road, parcel ID 038NA021 in the 7th Commission District.
Mr. Campbell, will you please state your name and address for the record?
Yes, ma'am. It's Robert Campbell, 7523 Taggart Lane, Knoxville, Tennessee.
Is there any opposition to this item or anyone wishing to speak? Seeing none, Ms. Brooks, will you please give us Planning Commission's recommendation?
Planning Commission recommends that County Commission approve the sector plan amendment to MDR, medium density residential land use classification, because it provides a transitional land use between the adjacent high density residential, commercial, and single family land uses, and because the property meets the location criteria for MDR by a vote of 14-0 on consent.
Thank you. Mr. Campbell, do you wish to speak to this project?
Yeah, I'll just will say one quick thing. Commissioner Lee, we met out there, and she had a concern about our access and visibility. And just to reiterate, our property comes out at the crest of a long hill on Cunningham Road, and if you know Cunningham Road, it's about 20 feet wide. And we have the ability to take the small bank that's in front of there with some trees that kind of keep the visibility down, and lay that back just a little bit and get rid of those trees, and have probably 700 or 800 feet of sight distance in either direction, probably much better than most of the driveway locations that are on properties that are adjacent to us. So we believe we've got a great development, single family homes. The property lays unbelievable for property. It really does. And hopefully we can come in with something that's affordable, even though I kind of grin when I say affordable because I remember what my first house cost, and but in today's world, affordable. So that's what our goal is.
Thank you. Commissioners, Commissioner Daly.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Campbell,
Yes, sir.
let me pull it back up here. I got it up on Google Maps there, and you're correct. Is the driveway going to come in in the middle, or is it going to come where it's at now?
No, it'll be more in the middle, because where it is now is it's kind of starting to come over the crest of the hill, and there's some condos beside us that actually their driveways, hopefully this will help improve a little bit coming over the hill. If we move it closer to the center, we'll be able to see both ways very, very well.
Now, Commissioner Lee, and and I know because I'm out there quite a bit, that little bank that's running all the way to the next driveway, I'm trying to pull it up here. Does that piece of property go all the way to that driveway to where we can cut that whole bank down through there?
Our property there's a house that's on the property that we're going to keep.
Yeah,
Okay. And so we go a little bit past that. I want to say 30, 40 feet in that direction away from Halls. But I think, Commissioner, that bank is probably located on Knox County right of way. So if there is a possibility, and Jim, we can talk about that we might be able to shave that bank back a little bit further, because it's not a tall bank. It's really not. And there's some trees, actually a couple trees that are about ready to fall on the road on there. So
If I was a next door neighbor and my property, I would love for you to come through and shape it down to where I can mow it.
yeah, as long as it's on right of way and we've got permission to do that, we don't mind, working with everybody to do that, because we know Cunningham's a very highly traveled road. I've driven it my whole life, and there are a few little ups and downs, but for the most part, it's a pretty good road.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Commissioner Schoonmaker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to say, Mr. Campbell, I'm glad you brought your executive team
Yes,
in the
sir.
back of the room there this evening, and so that they could see how County Commission operates, and I appreciate
I'm just
taking
hoping
that.
they had enough money for bail money, and just in case this turns sour. So that's the reason I brought them.
Any further discussion before I turn it over to Commissioner Lee? Seeing none, Commissioner Lee, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Campbell, I will say at first when I saw this and I had a few calls, I was concerned about the visibility. I thank you and the developer for meeting me out there and walking me through it. I do think that taking that bank down will greatly improve that. That clears kind of rest with me that it will address the visibility. I did look at the floor plan, the houses. I think those will be an asset there, very needed for first-time home buyers, people retiring, wanting to scale down. But I am in support of this project, and I thank you and Ms. McMahon for all your time and efforts.
Thank you very much.
And I'll make a motion to approve the sector plan amendment to MDR medium-density residential land use classification because it provides transitional land use between the adjacent high-density residential, commercial, single-family land uses, and because the property meets the location criteria for MDR.
Second. Motion to approve the sector plan amendment per Planning Commission's recommendation by Commissioner Lee with a second by Commissioner Frazier. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries.
Thank you all. You may have said, oh, we got one more. I was
You
gonna
got
say
one
set a
more.
record. That's right. Okay, well, don't do that. We need to
Madam
go
Clerk?
It's
Next
also
item.
a request of the zoning number is 4-0-23-RZ. It's a request of CPR LLC for rezoning from A agricultural to PR plan residential up to 8 dwelling units per acre at the same property description as the previous item.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Robert Campbell, 7523 Taggart Lane, Knoxville, Tennessee.
Any opposition? Seeing none. Ms. Brooks?
Planning Commission recommends that County Commission approve the PR Plan Residential Zone with up to 8 dwelling units per acre because it is consistent with the surrounding development, subject to one condition by a vote of 14-0 consent.
Thank you. Mr. Campbell, do you wish to add anything?
No, ma'am.
Commissioners, any further discussion? Commissioner Lee, I turn it to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I make a motion to approve the planned residential zone with up to 8 dwelling units per acre because it's consistent with the surrounding development, subject to one condition.
Second. Motion is to approve Planning Commission's recommendation by Commissioner Lee with a second by Commissioner Frazier. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Campbell.
Thank you all. Now, good night. Thank
Thanks,
you.
you too. That brings us to other business. Any other business to come before the zoning meeting of Knox County Commission? Seeing none, motion to adjourn. Other business is the same.
Just happy 4th of July.
Thank you. We're adjourned.